Go.
I liked that I'm like one here, I think.
The first that I kind of wanted to focus on was I had a or an expectation when it came to but Herman and I don't obviously Herman really like live up to my expectations. So I didn't know if anyone else had like an expectation when they would or how it would go or like how much Herman and live up to that. Uh,
My expectation was that it was going to be terrible. Because my logic was if him and his daughter were so close, Bud would have known his grandpa from the get-go and he never even would have had to be in foster care. So obviously the fact that he didn't know Bud existed there had to have been some disconnect, so I was expecting him to be terrible. So I wasn't that surprised.
My expectation doesn't fall there. It's no more at the end where kind of wrap up the relationship with Bud and Herman. So, yeah. Where I joined the welcome him right in, and so I get, obviously older, I'm kind of the way I still love it for the upfront. Don't have time to get out of that. So, we're it was afterwards, something about like what happened after that. Don't know if it was open for as their book, but I think that wrapped up like that one was
I think the author did it on purpose, though, just because, at least how I took it, is it's open-ended because that's kind of life. We are introduced to many different people in our lives, but we never get to hear the finished story, so we kind of have to think, like, I at least always like to think of the positives that happen. So at least for this book, I was able to think, like, okay, Bud got his family. He gets his love of music. He has all this positivity that's about to happen in his life, so I get to end on a happy note. And that's kind of like how life goes. You just have to kind of think about it, since you don't get the ending story of a lot of people we come in contact with. That's so I think that's where the author maybe did. I don't know. I could be entirely wrong.
about it. But
Yeah.
Herman would have had a relationship with Angela that after her death, but not but would have with Herman, right after that, still have that relationship. So,
I think
I wonder what happened to Bud after that. Other was a drummer, so I never further stuff that might have been. So that's kind of a wonder about it.
I think if Herman had a relationship with his mother, then Bud obviously would not have had to go through all the ordeals he had, so he would not have grown up as fast. We would have seen just a book of childlike wonder and naive, and I don't want to say it would have been boring, but it would have been like, oh, look at this kid asking, why is the sky blue? What's that instrument? It would have just been like very kind of bland, and with him having to go through all his trials because he didn't have the relationship, he had to grow up fast, like we've said, and then he was so much. I think Herman, since Bud was so grown up, in a sense, like mind wise, Herman was able to kind of more get a better relationship with him because he could kind of connect since he was older and Bud had the mentality of an older one. I think if he was younger, Herman might not have been so understanding or patient.
like how the rock or you'll help out, but like those little things that like you tell if you like kind of comes off as like our monster, especially buzz eyes, but like with like the author like but you like my what story but would have less responsibility as those but so um I how it
Yeah. So the two things I picked were, one, I picked the civil rights because in this like we mentioned how they actually have a Caucasian member in the band that's made up of black. I feel like a lot of the book focuses on the negative aspects of civil rights and like the animosity that was there. I'd like to focus on like how there still was like the goodness and that people were still friends, even though they might have been doing it kind of for the benefits of political. You still have to get along and be nice with one another to be in a band and travel, obviously. So I could kind of like show like the hope that was still there, even though it wasn't present every single day. The second connector, I kind of found this throughout the whole book, but they really emphasized it in the ending, was how they talk about how Bud, even though his mother's gone, she still is always in his heart, and how he can have her with her. Several different characters constantly reminded Bud of this. I think it's an important lesson to teach our students, because even if the person's alive or dead, they'll have people throughout their life that will shape them and mold them and give them memories and experiences that a lot of times children can be fearful if they do make like a connection, because they're like, oh, I'm never gonna see them again. Well, you might not see them physically, but they'll always be in your heart. It's like important for them to remember, and that person will never die, because in theory, the lessons that person taught you, you can then teach everyone that you met, so that person will live on forever. So that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
absolutely. I can appreciate that you said that about, that person living on, because I lost my grandpa a few years ago, and it's hard because, like, the longer he's gone, it feels like, I lose that memory of him, but it's so important to realize that he lives on through, he has 30 grandchildren, or 15 grandchildren and 15 great-grandchildren. He lives on through his kids and his great-grandchildren. It's just like, the longer you're without someone, you feel like they're further away, but really they're just living on through everybody. So it's just so important to teach kids that, especially because it would be hard to lose anybody, but especially at a young age, like Bud lost his mom. So
Yeah.
So I think that for me, Miss Thomas like you said, played a huge role in Bud's life, because she did kind of fill that void of his mom. She stood up for him, especially with Herman, and she kind of played that mothering figure. She folded his clothes, and she put him in bed when he fell asleep on top of the sheet or the bed, and she cuddled him when he was crying. And so I think for me, in this part of the book, she plays the biggest protector and factor. Who of, I guess, the people he met in this section do you guys think